changing to the players because Caicedo at Brighton, and there's some great headlines and some great, as we say, headline bingo here going on with the sugar babes.
Yes, there's a feature in the Mail on Sunday on how Brighton keep changing their lineup like the sugar babes. Brighton keep on delivering hits, whatever their lineup.
Okay, I see.
That's where it is. I think they've provided us with a very handy list of the players that they've sold in the last couple of years.
And the sugar babes lineup as well.
No, I had to Google that. It was Cucurella, Bissouma, Trossard, Mopé, Ben White, Dan Burn, and of course Graham Potter are all players and a coach, all hits, and have all been sold on for a profit, including Potter. So this is because the reason this is so pertinent is because it looks like Caicedo is going to be the big saga of transfer deadline day as we tick down towards January the 31st. The stories in the papers today are that he's been told to stay away. He's not going to feature today against Liverpool, and has basically been told, you're not for sale, go away, have time off, and then come back ready and focused in February for the second half of the season. It's going to be interesting to see who wins this one, because Caicedo obviously on Friday night put that Instagram post out. He said his goodbyes. He said, please let me become the record sale for Brighton and bring in a huge transfer fee. He has recently changed representatives, and I think this sort of highlights a different strategy he's taking to try and secure this move. You could see why Brighton on one hand might want to cash in. This is a player that they paid £4.5 million for. He's only got 26 Premier League starts under his belt, and he's already being valued at 60 million plus. I mean, Arsenal have bid 60 million. Chelsea, I think, bid 55 million. Brighton holding out for much more. We don't know what their upper valuation is, but it's going to be considerably more like 80, 90 million, you'd think. Right. And there's always that risk as well that, we've just talked about Jude Bellingham being on the market this summer. If they hold on to him, will he be worth the same amount of money in the summer? Will clubs be bidding for him then? So it's going to be really interesting to see whether Brighton weigh it up and go, this player doesn't want to be here, let's take a higher offer and cash in now, or whether they hold firm and he's going to be a key player for them as they're pushing to get into Europe.
Yeah. Amazing the price they're paying now for, he's 21. 21-year-old. They're getting absolute top dollar clubs now for players who are in their early 20s.
I mean, how does it work though with a player in this situation, Cass? Have you been in this sort of similar situation where a player has maybe made it known that they want to leave, and yet their club has suggested, well, we're not quite ready to let you go? How you reintegrate? I mean, who knows? He might still get sold if they meet the valuation that Brighton deem is what they think he's worth. But if he doesn't go in this window, I mean, like we say, he's already said his goodbyes. It feels as though he has already decided he wants to move on. His heart now, it may well be with Arsenal. How do you reintegrate a player that has made it clear they don't want to be there?
Well, you don't know how he's going to react. If it fell apart and then he's got the rest of the season, he could disappear. He could just literally not play as well. I've seen that. If he's got a great mentality, and I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt and think he would have, that he gets back and playing, and you're under contract for that club. And sometimes players get their head turned, but they don't get their way. It's not always one-way traffic. I would like to think that Brighton, as one of their selling points, would be, look, we won't stand in your way if you do brilliantly well for us, because they've sold a number of players that your pathway can head somewhere much higher. Because I feel that club does that for players. They will, but it's got to be on Brighton's terms.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where Caicedo's at. It's on Brighton's terms. So he can push as hard as he like, but the hardest negotiator, quite clearly, in football, Tony Bloom has done many a time, and I've spoke about him yesterday, he will play hardball.
But there's pushing internally, but then there's pushing like he's done with his statement on social media. That's quite a way of trying to force your way out.
Yeah, you'd think he's got to put another statement out if he ends up staying. I think he would need to. He would need to say, I wanted to leave, but I will focus everything on getting Brighton into Europe.
Absolutely.
And I think fans would be more accepting of that that honesty, having made such a public play.
Yeah. When's his contract end? Is it 24, something like that? His contract, 24, 25?
24, 25, I think.
Well,
not sure.
see, I've heard players who have talked privately to other players at the club, and when their moves could be imminent, they go
25.
25. So he'd be 25 years old at that time. But some players I'll never sign for the club again. If they don't let me go now, I'm never going to sign another contract. I know they can change their mind because suddenly 2 years down the line, it might suit them to sign. But, you just have to handle the situation.
Are you surprised at how well he's done, and also the fact that Arsenal want him because he's only just really got into the team after Ibosuma left? He became the replacement. Are you surprised at the acceleration of him?
Yeah, of course I am. I mean, to see him and play as many games as James has mentioned, 20-odd games, and suddenly the fee is 4. Well,
so what have Arsenal seen in him already
to
think he's the one?
Well, they've seen a player that's played against some of the performances he's put in have been so exceptional, and his pace and the ability to rob the ball and use it and keep it, that it's been, Bazuma wasn't miss really, was he? They let Bazuma go to Spurs, and then suddenly he stepped in and looked even better.
I think it's also a kind of it's almost like an insurance policy for if they get injuries in the second half of the season. And I think the fact that they are so focused, and we'll talk about Arsenal's title bid later, but the fact that they are, they're so keen to win the title that I think they're prepared to gamble now. But the other interesting thing as well in the papers, in the Sunday Telegraph, they make the point that Arsenal will still go for Declan Rice this summer, regardless of whether they get regardless of whether they get Caicedo. And that's such a fascinating change in direction for Arsenal.
Yeah.
So
Okay.